Sportsline. We appreciate you watching us locally right here in Bethel Park on Comcast 7. Appreciate the great feedback. Verizon 32 also in Bethel Park and everywhere in the Pittsburgh area. We just hit a brand new high on Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook, 2,845. Thanks to everybody for liking us out there. Beautiful day in the city, so I'm glad that you're watching us. Chief, thanks for watching us. Don't eat your dessert yet. We're getting started. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner. Zach Brenner will be here shortly. He's in transit. He's stuck in traffic. And Smokin' Jim left us for this evening to be with Ellis Cannon on PCNC talking Steeler draft. Can you imagine that? He left us just for tonight. So,
and he promised to talk to Steelers draft with us tonight.
I'm brokenhearted. You saw I just had to rearrange stuff here because I had my card originally. Whoop, somewhere in there. Well, we're going to start our show with what's on our mind. And I'm going to look right at my partner here, Chip the Prophet Hayner. What's on your mind?
Well, quite a number of things on our mind, and we've got a full hour to fill up. But to start out with,
ding ding,
we've got the Steelers draft coming up, okay? And my esteemed colleague Jim Frazier is working the Steelers draft war room with once again this year. And Thursday, I can guarantee you certain things are going to happen. A, Jim's going to get a free steak dinner. Okay.
That's a bonus.
B, he's not going to like a single one of the Steelers draft picks. Okay. And C, believe this or not, the Steelers are going to go 10-6 this year. But
oh, I like that.
Yeah, but what's really on my mind is something that is Steelers related, and it relates to a certain draft pick of the Steelers, which Jim didn't like from the day he was on the board, and he described him by a four-letter word called soft. And, and in the few years that he's been in the Steelers lineup, he's proven Jim to be absolutely right, hit that nail right on the head. And that is the Steelers offensive lineman, Mike Adams. Now, Mike Adams, is really not one of the most intelligent football players to ever graduate from The Ohio State University. Here's a guy who's 6'7", 345 pounds. So he's going to have interest from all of the NFL teams. So he goes to the combine, right? And what do they do at the combine? But they drug test all the athletes. So he decides to smoke a fatty on his way there, and he tests positive for marijuana. But that didn't deter the Steelers from giving him a second chance. And, and here he is, he's out and about. Before the season starts last year, he's given the starting job as a Steelers offensive guard. And, so he has to go out onto the south side and get himself a little bit inebriated, to say the least. And he gets in an altercation and he gets stabbed. And he concocts this story about how he was an attempted carjacking and he got stabbed. Well, he went to trial last week, and subsequently the facts came out, and none of the people that were involved in the incident were convicted of the crimes that he claims that they, were involved with him as the victim. As a matter of fact, he turned out to be a less than credible witness, and basically the verdict said that he's basically a bald-faced liar. Now think about some of the things that came out in this trial, besides the fact that Mike Adams is a liar, but that's no big surprise.
No.
He said that certain things happened. Well, his blood alcohol level was a .185. And somebody did some research, and they determined that for a human being that is 6'7" and 345 pounds,
drinks?
It was 25 to 28 drinks he would have had to have consumed for his blood alcohol level to be that high. Now, here's a guy that was handed the starting job for the Steelers with a multi-million-dollar contract, and he's out in public, and he's drinking 25 to 30 mixed drinks. And then he gets into trouble, and then he has to try to lie to get his way out of it. And, Kevin Colbert, really have to question him, and I know my friend Jim has always questioned him.
And he's friends with him.
But he said yesterday when he was interviewed with Mike Tomlin that he's glad that Mike Adams is a Pittsburgh Steeler. I can't believe that he could say that with a straight face. I'm like, I don't understand why he hasn't been released yet, but that's what I think should happen. They need to make him go away. He is not a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Boy,
but that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Chip. And Jim will be so happy to hear that when he watches these, because he does watch them. So you know he's going to be proud to hear you say that. And we'll see what happens there. So, and they do have 9 picks, so that might be another offensive lineman that they need.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that later on, I'm sure. And Zach isn't here yet. Let's see. Another text. I guess I'll go. Is he here? Well, then here's what we're going to do. Since it's a nice sunny day, why don't we have a nice commercial in the next couple seconds, and we'll just get Zach Brenner in the house, because he bet me that he would not be 15 minutes late like I said. So he's a winner. We're going to go to a commercial, folks. You can change that dial for the next 2 minutes, and we'll bring Zach Brenner up for what's on his mind.
Hi, we are Pack 8 from Ben Franklin, and you are watching BPTV.
Welcome back from our commercial. Little Z, Zach Brenner, glad you made it. You did make it within a reasonable time. What's on your mind, my friend?
Well, Olivine, the talking machine, sorry to you folks that you missed a couple extra minutes of getting to see my mug. I know some of you enjoy it or don't enjoy it, whatever. But what's on my mind tonight, folks, is Marc-Andre Fleury, the starting goaltender for your Pittsburgh Penguins. Isn't it amazing what can happen to a goaltender and his confidence when all the guys in front of him actually play and do what they're supposed to do, including defense, including keeping people out of in front of the net. And then when your stars don't go, in the tank and they actually show up and play, it's just amazing to me. So we got back-to-back shutouts out of Marc-Andre Fleury and the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're up on the series now with the Rangers. All the momentum's in the Penguins' favor. I don't know how many games are left until we win the Stanley Cup. Al Levine could tell you folks that little juicy nugget, because I just go one game at a time.
You're a player.
Every series could go 7 games, but what's on my mind is Marc-Andre Fleury, 2 back-to-back shutouts, and I just want the Penguins to keep rolling.
Thanks, Zach. I also have some Penguin talk. 10 games to go for the Cup. That's all it'll take. I'm a fan. There's no problem with that. And what I'm happy about is when I said that power outage, they turned that off. Sid the Kid scored a nice goal. Wasn't an easy one. It was a laser shot there in the 5-hole. It was a pleasure watching that and the replay again and again. And they are playing a little bit of defense, which helps. And Fleury only handled 15 shots last night.
No, he stopped 36.
Was it 36? I didn't get the stats there because I was watching that.
And the previous game was in the 20s, like 23.
Okay, well, that's even better than I thought. It must have been 15 in
but
the last period.
A shutout is still a shutout.
And
how playoffs, he wasn't the number 1 star last night, it will forever boggle my mind.
No, he was.
No, he wasn't.
No, in the newspaper he was this morning. Crosby number 2, and I think
I thought I saw in the paper
was number 3.
No, it was the night before.
Yeah, we're getting mixed up.
Yeah, we're
getting
mixed
up. Because here's what happened.
Time in the sun.
2 shutouts, 2-0, 2 nights in a row. It's like a blue moon in February.
Is this going to be like our Penguin segment?
We're going to have to.
Okay,
we're going to have to. We're going to roll right in this instead of revisitation, because we're missing a guy. We can revisit stuff, but you missed part of Chip's talk, and that'll cover Steelers. But we're in the Penguins, so we're going to change it up because we're one man short, so we're going to fill the breach right now. Well, let's talk Penguins.
Well, I tell you what, the Penguins have shown actually in the last, the last 2 periods of the first game and in the last 2 games, they've actually shown the kind of a hockey team that they can be. And, I am very encouraged by the play of Sid Crosby in the last 2 games, even though he didn't score in the first shutout. People thought that he was, by far the best player on the ice, and I would have to beg to differ there. I think really the best 2 players on the ice in the first shutout were Marc-Andre Fleury and No, Henrik Lundqvist.
Lundqvist
Lundqvist is playing lights out, but if your offense isn't scoring any points for you, it doesn't matter how well you play.
So welcome to Marc-Andre Fleury's world.
But the defense has let Lundqvist down a little because they're peppering him there, and guess what? Guys are following up with the shot.
And there's a lot of good things going on, and and I think one of the things that they're talking about is what are you going to do with Brooks Orpik? He's starting to skate. Who do you sit down? And there's been some talk about possibly sitting Ole Mata, and it looks like Ole Mata is like hitting a wall. He's a young kid. He's 19 years old. He's never played this many games in a season before. Yeah. So and it's amazing that somebody as talented as Ole Mata could be considered to be sat down. But if Brooks Orpik is healthy,
I would have to say though that Ole Mata internationally, like he's played a lot of hockey games. In the years, right. At 19 for his age. But what he's not used to is playing at this kind of level in the playoffs. It's a whole different kind of level. It takes a whole different kind of mental edge and physicality that he's just not prepared for. But he's Swedish. He's played for the Swedish international team. So believe me, that kid's gotten a tremendous amount of exposure at his age. So
here's the other thing. If you want to sit a guy down, Scuderi, I sit him down. Well, that's the guy I sit down. I'll take Orpik back to see if he's actually healed up and being able to play close to what he used to. But Scuderi, it was a nice gamble, but he's just not playing like I want to see him play.
Well, and actually Scuderi in the last 2 games has played better than he has, and here's one thing that Dan Bylsma's not going to do. He's going to go with the experienced guy. He's a been there, done that kind of guy. He's been and won 2 cups with 2 different teams.
But if they're on the kind of rule that they're on right now, playing the way that they play, do you just not do anything and just wait till the next series maybe to bring Orpik back and get him into the first game?
That's the move I make.
Because you never, I'm a superstitious kind of guy. And I also believe, and it's a motto at Brenner Contracting, that if it's not broke, don't fix it. So right now, they've played 2 consistently good, quality, solid games back to back. I say you don't change anything right now. You don't do anything. You go into the next game and see what comes of it, and then you make your decision. If they come out and they play lights out again, I really would stress not to touch it and wait.
But here's the thing that troubles me, okay? And I hate to be the person that brings a little bit of a dark cloud into this bright picture, but the Penguins have been, if anything, this year, consistently inconsistent, and as well as they have played, and they have shown us how well they can play, okay? The series with the Rangers is by no means over yet,
right.
Okay? And we're up 2-1, nice place to be. That's where I would want to be, but as much as they played so well the last 2 games, they have lapses in concentration that it just make you scratch your head. And and I hear everybody talking about, well, the Penguins and the Bruins are going to be playing in the next round. Let me tell you something else. The Bruins are tied with the Canadiens 1-1, and those are 2 bitter rivals that hate each other from the old neighborhood.
The original,
right. So that series is by no means anywhere close to being over. And you know what? We need to take care of our business.
We do
now.
And it would be sweet to take care of our business and watch the Bruins and Canadiens beat the heck out of each other and wear each other down. And that would even make Levine's.
Well, for us fans, I'll just give you an update: 2 wins, and this series is over. But can they do it in 2 games? Yes. Here's why. During the season, didn't they have streaks where they were playing 8, 10 games that they looked great? When you say how they have ups and downs, we saw that roller coaster. My pick in the beginning was 16 wins because I'm a fan, plus the power wasn't there. Now we have some power. The Stars are scoring, and they trust the other guys to win a game, which hasn't happened in Penguin playoffs for a long time.
Well, I tell you, one of the biggest stars on the team this year in this playoff run so far is somebody that we got for a song last year was Jussi Jokinen.
Oh.
He's been playing lights out. But here's another thing, speaking of streaks. The Rangers, I believe their power play is 0 for 36 in this year's playoffs. And they have not scored in the last 6 periods. Okay? The longer a streak like that goes, the closer they get to the end of that streak.
Bob Prince, the hidden vigorous.
So I mean, let's not forget. They're professionals. They've got a lot of pride, and the Rangers are a worn-out team. They had to play 5 games in 7 days because and they're complaining because the NHL made them do that. Well, that's because of the availability of their arena. and there's so many other things planned because the Rangers haven't been a playoff hockey team for quite some time. So they scheduled all these events in
There's a price to pay.
May and April that they don't normally have because they're not playing hockey. So,
And I figure that things even up with the Penguins. When you lead the league in games off due to injury, guess what? Now people are getting healthy. That's what you want to see. You want to see your players healthy.
But you also want to see what's happening now is you want to peak at the right time.
This is it.
And
They're
now
doing
is the
that.
time. Now is the time, like I said, to finish off the Rangers, take advantage of the momentum, and rest up and wait. For whoever the outcome will be, because the Bruins have our number. So I mean, me personally, I'll take the Bruins or Montreal. We don't have much of a choice on it.
I just want to win the next 2 games because I look at the whole thing. But the next game is the most important. If we get up 3-1, you're killing a tired team. And sure, they're desperate, but look at how lethargic they look. Like their power play, they had 3-4 power plays early in the game. And that wore
what
them
is that
out.
reminiscent of? Who is that reminiscent of?
The Penguins.
Exactly. So the Rangers are experiencing a little bit.
And it always turns.
The pendulum is swinging a little bit.
Well, and you know what, and the Rangers are going to get a couple of days to rest because they
need it.
They took the day off. They've got a big game tomorrow night, and the Penguins have to maintain their focus, and they got to play another 60 minutes of hockey.
These guys are world-class athletes. What it takes to be able to play hockey and skate and go for 3 periods is
Well,
I think it's one of the more undervalued sports where
it's amazing with them. But look at Letang. Here's a guy that had a stroke. He's getting actually back in the game shape now. You can see the difference with his speed. And now he's able to lead a charge, which he wants to. I want him to hold back a little bit because when he gets crazy firing that puck everywhere and it's not even hitting the net, you're driving me crazy here.
I'll tell you what's made Letang a better player, I think. And then they always had Paul Martin teamed up with Brooks Orpik. And they've teamed up Martin with Chris Letang. And I think, because Paul Martin is a much better defenseman, a defensive defenseman than Chris Letang is. Chris Letang is an offensive defenseman that, when Chris Letang goes to make his offensive rushes, Paul Martin is holding the fort back, and I think it's making Letang a better player. So I think, like Zach says, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But Brooks Orpik can play with anybody. You could put him in there, with any combination. But I think Martin and Letang are great together.
And Martin gets that first pass, which is the key. When you're on a power play, he gets the first pass to a guy, which is sweet. Because now they get either a shot or they're passing somebody down near the net. And that's what has the King down there a little worried with some of this stuff. They're getting inside and beyond him because the guy's following up on the shot.
The one thing that Sid has done in the last 2 games that he wasn't doing previously, he started shooting the puck more frequently, and it's amazing. When he shoots the puck, it goes in the net.
Well, once anyhow. Once.
Well, I mean, it was never Sid's mentality ever since he came into the league. I mean, he's not the Ovechkin. He's not the me first kind of guy. Like Sid is a playmaker. He's a creator. He will take it upon himself if it comes down to it. But Sid more wants to facilitate.
Hello.
Oh, we got a caller.
Yes. I don't know who it is.
Hello, caller. Welcome to our show.
Hello, may I speak to David, please?
I think you might have a wrong number here.
I'm sorry about that. Bye-bye.
Is that a crank call?
Well, folks, we got a random
that
call.
That was the least interesting crank call if it was. Thanks for tuning in and however you got
I guess that's a...
But, to speak to your point about Sid Crosby, one thing amazing about Sidney Crosby since he's come into the league, any area that he's been deficient in his game, when he focuses on it, like at first he wasn't winning a lot of face-offs, and he worked on it, became one of the best in the league. He became a great assist man. If he set his mind to it, he could score 50 goals a year. I mean, he is that good of a player.
Well, how about his backhand? They call him the best backhand shot in hockey right now. He had a weak backhand when he first come up. So he builds his whole game. It's like piece by piece, like you're saying. Which it's a pleasure to watch a guy that young putting his whole game. He had a good game anyhow.
How amazing is it, though, to have the magnificent one, Mario Lemieux, and then to follow that up with having Sidney Crosby. Like some franchises never have superstars of the calibers of those two players. You know, to have it's in two eras, two of the best ever.
Well, look at Yager followed Lemieux and didn't miss a beat.
To get those two, they had to be one of the worst ever to get that first pick in the draft.
That goes without saying.
Thank God they were. But you know. But yeah, you know, it'll be an interesting series. By no means is it over, but I mean, I would love to see the Penguins put their skate on the juggler and put this team out.
Now, Levine, if every series went 7 games this for the remainder out, how many games would they have to win?
They still have to win the same amount as 16. This guy come out of traffic.
What weighs more, a ton of feathers or a ton of bricks?
This guy had so much time to think. Zach had, you know, we're a little off sports subject, but he squeezed that steering wheel. If you go out to the lot right at Bethel Park Municipal Building, there are Brenner fingerprints in the steering wheel. So he was thinking way too much about this, and he was writing notes. So I'm a little scared right now. So we're going to go to Sips Sports Bar. We passed the revisitation because we're going to talk Steelers, Chip, so we'll get a little bit of that. Now, at Sips Sports Bar last night, Chip couldn't make it, so we missed out on Chip last night, and Zach couldn't make it.
I'm sorry, folks.
So I'll only fill him in on a little bit. We'll first get a close-up here. They told me to go to John's camera, but John's camera is the one I'm supposed to be looking at, so I don't know. Are you getting a close-up here? Christina Nicole is a Gateway graduate, St. Vincent graduate. She was a great guest on our show last night, and she's a Pittsburgh Power football cheerleader, dancer, model, and everything else. The reason why I need a close-up, John, is if you can they need to click on this link or go to her Facebook page to vote for her daily, and she could win the AFL Dream Team cheerleader for Pittsburgh anyhow. So thanks, John. Appreciate that. And if you go, here's their schedule.
Big game coming up on the 9th.
Yep. So a little bit Pittsburgh Power there.
I wasn't aware that Tim Benz did the play-by-play on TV for the Pittsburgh Power.
Neither did everybody else.
We didn't know. And he was promoted to the sports director of 105.9 The X. So
Hey,
I mean,
he's glad he's off the air on the morning.
that was no punishment. He got a promotion. He runs that show.
It's a good promotion for us working folks too in the morning too to get rid of him and Bob McLaughlin.
Well, back
off
to
the
Sips, we had another great guest. Kama Worthy was there, Zach. Great guest. You have to watch the video. I just put it up.
Very charismatic.
He was great. He did not wear a bow tie. He was a little upset. I had a more colorful shirt, and so did Smokin' Jim. So that was bothering him. But he's getting in shape. He only needs to lose about 19 more pounds by the 24th. I reminded him that it was 26 pounds the last time he was on our show. So he's in fighting shape. He's got the mentality there. May 24th. You want to make sure you go up to Green Tree and check this out. He did knock a guy out in 26 seconds, and he said it may not be. Well, he goes, it might be that. He goes, I don't know. He said, I can't predict. That was his exact quote.
Hey, he's going to give it his all, I can tell you that.
Well, he's definitely a true warrior there, and that's Kama Death Star Worthy. Like his page. He's liked ours, and he said, try to promote him a little more, and we will. We also had Hannah Ramsey, which is another friend of Smokin' Jim, his best friend from California University, Butch Ramsey. So shout out to him. It was nice seeing him. His daughter is actually like racing cars. I forget where it is now. I got too much on my mind. But check out our video, and you'll see that. Just pull it up, Zach. You can pull that video up right now.
I missed the female race car driver.
Yes, you did. She's number 14. And you can check that out. She has a purple and white Monte Carlo, and she's quite the person.
Do we have the racetrack that she races at?
Yeah, it's on there.
Motordrome?
Yeah, I forget where it's at. Okay. Can't recall right now, buddy. Right. I was so worried that my son from another mother that I can't get rid of was late. Just bothered me there. Now, Sips, we didn't have meatball hoagies, but the wings were delicious last night.
wings on my
Yeah, so we mixed it up a little bit. Go out to SIP. See you next Monday. We got a lot of great people. One person I wanted to highlight is this Susan Wagner. You may not know her name, but you've seen her artwork in the city, especially Chip at PNC Park. Roberto Clemente, Bill Mazeroski, and Willie Stargell. She made those statues. So it's just awesome. She'll be on talking some art there and sports. And we have a bunch of other guests. And come out next Monday at SIP Sports Bar about 7:30. We'll see you then. And that's what's it for SIPs.
No, I got something. I got a question for you two gentlemen that I'd like to ask tonight.
Okay.
I hate to interrupt the segments, but
This is a new segment. Z question time.
Of the new school era, kind of, and you guys being from like the old school, what was it like growing up with Stargell, Clemente, like with the Pirates that my generation, like we basically like have no idea or clue about like how great like it was. Like
you would have loved it.
You know, it's kind of ironic though, and one thing about Pittsburgh sports fans over the last 45 years that I recall is that Pittsburgh sports fans pretty much haven't changed in all this time. You know, everybody loved and they idolized Roberto Clemente. You know, Willie Stargell in the early part of his career. He became more beloved as he got further on in his career. But Pittsburgh sports fans were complaining about him the same way they complained about the Steelers of the '70s. Everybody talks about the dynasty. Let me tell you something. People called for the firing of Chuck Noll weekly. Bradshaw should be benched every week. You know, I mean, these guys that are all Hall of Fames and icons, and everybody thinks they walked on water. Terry Bradshaw, had a reputation of being a dummy, and the only person that didn't get criticized was Joe Green because everybody was afraid of him.
Yeah, that's true. It was fun times when you talk about it. Getting back to Terry Bradshaw, if you're around people that don't talk like Pittsburghers here, you're downtown or South Side or North Side. He was a Southern accent, so right away they figured he doesn't know much.
He was a good old boy.
Yeah, but he was a heck of an athlete. If he played under the rules now, but people would actually boo him. When Joe Gilliam was playing, they loved him for a while.
And here's the thing that's different between sports when I was growing up and sports now is that when an athlete came up and he was a part of your team, he's part of your team for his entire career. And you got to identify with the team and the players. Now we rent players. They're here, they're gone. And
Right.
the last thing in the world that I would do anymore is buy
jerseys.
I buy still. Look, I got a Penguins logo on my shirt. I support the team. You don't know who's going to be here next week, and that's one of the things that makes it.
It's different. Yeah, it definitely is different.
Definitely different. But having the Pirates, as consistent perennial winners, it was just something that at the time you took for granted. It was like, the Pirates were always contenders when I was growing up, and I never knew anything different until the early '80s when they had the drug trials and the team got gutted and it almost moved out of Pittsburgh the first time. That's when Jim Leland came in and turned things around in the mid to late '80s. So.
And McClatchy saved the franchise, whether people want to admit it.
That's kind of where I pick up. I pick up at Sid Bream sliding into the plate. Braves win. Like that's where my baseball experience.
And that's why I do understand the frustration that you and a lot of fans have with the Pirates and the ownership. But
but it doesn't. My frustration doesn't still take away from the historic significance or the history of the franchise. Like they were tremendously talented.
You would have liked the '70s much better because Willie Stargell had a chicken place, and
it was in the Hill District.
In the Hill District,
there was three of them.
And what was so cool about it is, working at the Pittsburgh Press like I did, you could go up there. So some guys would actually go up there for when he was batting up and hit a home run.
He hit a home run. It was chicken on the hill with Will. You got free chicken.
And the other
no
nice
wonder
thing,
they didn't last.
The other nice thing is, like you're friends with pro athletes and everything else. Can you imagine being friends or being at places with Penguins, Pirates, and Steelers and the local restaurants and drinking establishments? They were out there in the public, not like now where people are too obnoxious, I'll say, and social media is 24/7. But these guys, I'll tell you some stories off air, just where they were and what they did, and you'll be utterly amazed. But we were right there, and nobody got in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Nobody got hurt. So it was a completely
if we went to
different.
the 70s, if we fast forwarded to the 70s, like Kumane was in the 60s, we fast forward
and early 70s.
and we fast forward into the 70s. The Steelers and the Pirates were winning championships, and it was the Penguins that were the ugly.
They were
the
hapless
stepchild.
losers. Yeah,
Yes.
I remember in 1975 when the Penguins, one of the very first times that they had a real chance to go anywhere in the playoffs, and they got up 3-1 on the New York Islanders in 1975.
One of the greatest
and they,
debacles.
And they lost, And the Penguins.
Could you remember who was on that Islanders team? Was that one of the teams that was loaded?
No, that was not one of the 4 consecutive winners that they had.
Okay.
That was prior to that. But the Penguin stars then were like Jean Pronovost and Sil Apps, and Les Binkley was in goal, and Denny Herron was a goaltender.
It was
for the
$5
Penguins.
to get in a game.
Yeah, there was Bob Battleship
And they're wearing
Kelly,
blue and white.
goaltenders that didn't wear masks. Bob Battleship Kelly would fight everybody on the ice. I mean, he was,
He'd call everybody over. It was.
you could go down to the Civic Arena on game day for $2, get in the door, because there'd be like 5,000
$3.
people in the arena for a hockey game. So you get tickets in the nosebleed section, boom, you'd be right down against the glass, beating on it, and it was.
We'd come down from peanut heaven, maybe pay somebody $5 and be at the glass. You'd have gone crazy then. Now the 60s were okay, but I was young then also, a little bit older than Chip. So we were really talking 70s with all the championships. And the Penguins were like the red-haired stepchild that was there. But I did meet a lot of the young Penguins then. And what was so funny is, I'm about 6 foot tall. They were all like midgets then. There weren't many tall players.
But I know that whenever I was down in Tampa Bay for the Super Bowl, and we were fortunate enough to win that Super Bowl, I made it back from down in Tampa in time to make it to the parade, to be at the parade and be a part of that. But to experience like 4 of those in the 70s, probably would have blew my mind, because it was enough of an experience just to win it down. And, that's the second time in my life that I went to Florida and came back a champion. This was the second time. The first time we won the Super Bowl, and the second time happened in February.
You would have never been able to handle it, because you had the Pirates winning 2 championships in the 70s, 4 for the Steelers, plus they won division titles and everything, both teams, over those years.
And actually, the best Steelers team of the decade didn't win the championship.
They started 0-4.
Now that was when they lost to the Raiders, when Franco and Rocky both couldn't play, and that was the year of the Raiders, 1977, when the year the Raiders beat the Vikings. The Steelers were by far that was the I don't know if it was that year. It may have been that year. Was the year that Turkey Jones dropped Bradshaw on his head.
I think it was.
Pile drived him, and Bradshaw was out, and the defense pitched 3 shutouts in a row. They they put in a backup quarterback, and they're like, okay, we're just not going to let anybody score. And I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Those are just great times to be a Pittsburgh sports fan.
And that's what ignited it. Remember, the Steelers for 40 years didn't win anything. So this was new, like you're talking about with your era. It was new for all of us as young people, too.
72 was the big year with the Immaculate Reception. As the first year they ever made the playoffs. And they made it to the AFC Championship game that year, and Miami came to Pittsburgh, and they beat the Steelers.
Wasn't that on a fake punt?
I can't remember that much, but that was also the year that the Miami Dolphins won undefeated all year. They ended up.
So the Steelers had a chance to knock off the Dolphins and change history with their undefeated season.
Right, and by virtue of the Immaculate Reception. And the Immaculate Reception, that game was played in Pittsburgh on a Saturday, and because the game was not sold out, it was blacked out in Pittsburgh.
Hardly anybody saw it.
So nobody saw it. I listened to it on the radio. I listened to Jack Fleming do the play-by-play. I listened to it on the radio in my friend's living room. The next day, Sunday, on a 24-hour tape delay, they played the game the next Sunday. The following Sunday. So if you were in a bar in Pittsburgh, you didn't watch that game. You had to be.
I know people that traveled to Ohio and other places to watch the game. Because they were big Steeler fans, were big Steeler fans.
The greatest moment in Steeler history, and
most people
Pittsburghers did
not
not
live.
see it live.
Yeah,
And so So when the Immaculate Reception happened, like, we did not go to the Super Bowl that year. We lost.
We lost
to the
right.
Miami Dolphins,
Dolphins.
who went undefeated.
Yep.
Right.
And no
See,
team has
now,
gone undefeated.
I think that's the perfect segue, folks, into Chips trivia time.
There you go.
Well, we covered fiction and fact because of your question.
Yeah, but we did. But
Well, let's do it.
Started with Chips trivia time. First, I'd like to give a shout out to one of the greatest ball players that I ever saw play. Happy birthday to Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid. He was one of the greatest ball players that ever lived, one of just a small handful of ball players that hit over 600 home runs. Also on this date, in 1978, another baseball great. Unfortunately, he'll never be in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose got his 3,000th base hit. And I bring up Pete Rose, and there's other people that were involved in things that I won't mention. But Pete Rose is a ball player. I mean, he just did amazing things. The things that he got banned from baseball for, he did as a manager of the Cincinnati Reds. So in my mind's eye, that doesn't tarnish what he did on the field, because what he did on the field, it does speak for itself.
So he never got in trouble for betting as a player?
Well, he never got caught.
He gambled
They
on
could never
horses and
prove
everything.
that he did anything when he was a player, but he got in trouble and banned from baseball as a coach.
Well, because he bet on his own team.
Right.
Not only did he bet on baseball, but he bet on his own team.
Yeah.
But,
And he admitted it after a lot of duress.
yeah.
And he was arrogant enough and thought that a lifetime ban would not be lifetime.
But isn't that, to me, though, I hate to interrupt, that's a slippery slope to me, though, because if he did, if as he played as a player and he didn't cheat or break the rules as a player, he should at least be able to go in
All
as
you
a
gotta
player.
do is read
It's not a
history.
human being,
You
we're
gotta
not.
read-
The Hall of Fame isn't for the greatest human beings in baseball.
But he agreed to a lifetime
Yeah,
ban.
that's his
That's
fault.
the only thing that his arrogance got him beat. That just shows you.
Because he thought, because he was Pete Rose, that it would blow over in a year and he would get what he wants. But next up on our trivia here, we don't talk much about the NBA basketball because Pittsburgh has just never been a very strong supporter of basketball. And I don't mean any disrespect to our friend Marcus Robinson and the Pittsburgh
Right.
Bullets. But this past weekend, something happened that I don't believe ever happened before in NBA history. There's 8 first-round playoff series, and 5 of those 8 series went to the 7th game this past weekend,
happened.
Saturday, Sunday. And just to give you a rundown, the LA Clippers and Golden State Warriors, the Clippers beat them 4-3. Indiana Pacers and the Atlanta Hawks. Indiana took them 4-3. Brooklyn Nets and the Toronto Raptors. Brooklyn beat them 4-3. Oklahoma City beat Memphis 4-3, and the San Antonio Spurs beat the Dallas Mavericks 4-3. Never before has that happened before. That is something that I should
that's a good
give
point.
some note. And like I said, we don't really pay a lot of attention to basketball around here. But also give a little shout out to Kevin Durant, NBA's MVP for this season. He had a pretty amazing run this year. But I got a little piece of trivia here for my good friend Alan Levine,
Whoa,
the
okay.
talking machine.
All right.
May 6, 1915. This was just a few days before Alan and I were born.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, exactly.
Give or take.
as a pitcher for the
3.
Boston Red Sox, Babe Ruth had 3 hits, including his first major league home run when he connected off of Jack Waltrip of the New York Yankees at the Polo Grounds.
Wow.
So Babe Ruth hit his first home run as a pitcher, May 6, 1915. This is something that I don't see. I personally don't believe that we're going to see another pitcher accomplish this feat in our lifetimes, and that is breaking the 300-win plateau. And in 1982, Gaylord Perry of the Seattle Mariners became the 15th major league pitcher with 300 victories. The last 2 that got 300 victories, I believe, may have been Greg Maddux.
Oral Hershiser? Did he get to 300?
No, he didn't get to 300.
missed
No?
No, Oral Hershiser set a record with the most consecutive scoreless innings pitched, and I believe that's somewhere in the mid-50s.
Obviously, Nolan Ryan. got
And Don
300, right?
Drysdale held that record before.
Nolan
that.
Ryan got 300. Greg Maddux and Tommy Glavine each got 300.
I think it was Glavine and Maddox were the last 2.
Yeah,
I think from
I
what
believe-
you just
I
said
believe
there. Yeah.
so.
Why is it so hard, Chip, to be a pitcher and win 300 games?
well,
in Major League Baseball?
they'll just look at it this way. That would be averaging 15 wins a season, and that's over a 20-year career. That's that's a pretty amazing thing. But the thing that makes it so difficult now, and the pitchers, it is the age of specialization. Pitchers used to start a game and finish a game, and now what happens is, a pitcher pitches 5.5, 6 innings, and that's it. There's so much that can happen that if you don't have a good
well, look at the mid-relief guys. That what I think is you have all this specialization. You have the Tommy John surgery. That it would be possible. But when you watch the games, they want inning eaters. So a guy might pitch his heart out, 6 innings, 1-0. Now you're bringing a middle reliever.
So you
it's
have
a tie score.
To get credit for the victory in baseball as a pitcher, you have to go 6 innings.
5.5 innings. You have to pitch 5.5 innings, and you have to have the lead, or your team has taken over the lead in the bottom half of that inning. Okay. Now once the score becomes tied, you're no longer the pitcher of record. And, you can't lose the game, but you can't win the game either.
So whenever Grilled Cheese steps up and blows the save, you no longer get credit for the win.
Exactly.
Correct. And he doesn't get credit for the save. But the last two little bits I have here, May 6, 1998, rookie Kerry Wood of the Chicago Cubs tied a major league record set by Roger Clemens in 1986 with 20 strikeouts in a 9-inning game. 27 outs in a game, 20 strikeouts.
Did Roger Clemens ever get 300 wins?
Yes, he did. He ended up with well over 300. I believe over 350. Over 350. But
does an asterisk go next to his name?
Yeah, it does, because he was once again he was tainted by the steroid era. And the last little bit of trivia here. Okay, let's see here. In the first major league game since 1925, in which both teams put a position player on the mound. Okay, this happened in 2012, so it was the first time this happened since 1925. The Baltimore Orioles completed a 3-game sweep at Boston, and that was the first time since 1925 that they had to put position players in to finish off their mound, because they used up their entire pitching staff.
And I remember that.
So
Nice.
But that's all I got for trivia.
That's a lot of trivia.
It was a lot of good trivia, and I always love any time that the trivia occurs when I was alive, at least.
Since Smoking Jim's not here, I'm going to give you another fact. Since Willie Mays, I like watching Willie catch with his basket catch, that he was the first guy to get 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases in all of Major League history. So imagine that. He was the first.
And now that's like nothing to anybody anymore.
Well, until 2000,
there's a few people that do it that have the speed and the strength.
I mean, Ricky Henderson probably
right,
did
but there's
it
not a lot of them 30
ease.
and 30. Barry Bonds did it.
Barry Bonds, when he was
without steroids.
This is the most disturbing thing I find about Barry Bonds, and the fact that he's tied up with the PEDs. That he was probably the best baseball player in Major League Baseball before he ever started juicing. And he never had a need to do that. He could have gone down as the greatest player of his era.
A-Rod would have to go into the same category.
No, he was a juicer before.
He was a juicer from the start.
Yeah, he always juiced.
See, Barry Bonds, when he came up in 86 or 87, he came out of Arizona State. I'm going to tell you what, he had one of the quickest swings, and I mean the kid could cover a whole outfield. Fast. I mean, he was just he was amazing. He was amazing.
You know who is one of my favorite baseball players that doesn't get a lot of recognition or credit, who didn't take juice that we know of, is Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr.
You know what? And I tell you what, he was never tied up with the. And I do believe that he'll be one of the guys from the steroid era that will get in.
But he was injury prone, and that's one of the things. Even though he had a lot of great stats, he would have had even more. Those injuries decimated him.
He had one of the most natural, sweetest swings I ever saw. Yeah. It was just effortless. When he hit the ball, and I mean, it was just a smooth, and that ball just jumped off the bat.
It did, no doubt. Well, we covered a lot of subjects. We'll have Z time right now. What do we got for Z time? You got anything, or were your questions there
on Z time,
of the old school stuff?
I'm one of the only panelists that probably follows the NBA on a day in and day out basis. My favorite player, LeBron James, left the Cleveland Cavaliers and went down. We don't know what he's doing down in Miami. They've already advanced and buttoned it up. They didn't have to go to 7 games in Miami. But what's kind of troubling me a little bit and what's on my mind is that Kevin Durant got named NBA MVP. And my feeling always is that it's flattered. You're flattered. You're MVP of the league. But to me, being the MVP of the league means absolutely nothing if you don't go to the championship and win the championship. So I could care less about being the MVP. It means so much more when you are the MVP of the league, and then you're the MVP of the finals, and then you're the MVP with the gold medal of the Olympic Games. I mean, you see where I'm getting at now. I mean, LeBron James, all that matters is the hardware. So Kevin Durant, I'll congratulate you on your MVP status of the league. But if your Thunder don't win the NBA championship and King James wins another one in a row, I mean, I could care less if you're the MVP of the league.
Hey, Z, I got to take a counterpoint on that. If you got Durant, 119 out of 125 cards, he won, that people like them. Now, his team may not win it, but I still think it's an honor that you can be proud of. I like the W's at the end, but to do it on a team that doesn't win a championship, that means you were the whole team, basically.
Well, I've well documented that I'm not a huge LeBron James fan, but I will say this about LeBron James. LeBron James did give Kevin Durant his props and said that he was a deserving MVP, that he would have gotten his vote.
I want to give,
and that's a class move.
But the folks at home, I want to let you guys in on a little juicy nugget here. Kevin Durant and LeBron James are really good friends, and they spent a lot of time together practicing for the Olympic team. And if LeBron James is good at one thing, it's studying and knowing the faults. So whenever those two played against each other, as they have done, you will see LeBron James always gets the best of Durant. So right now, Durant is little bro, and LeBron James is big bro. And the only way to do it is, hey, go out there and make it to the finals and beat the Heat.
Hold it. I don't want him to beat the Heat. I'm for the Heat again. I'm on a streak with the Heat. I'm looking for three-peat.
Yeah, you already know.
No,
I love
that's what I'm looking
Pat
for.
Riley in the front office.
Jack, if you're gonna beat the best, you got to practice against the best. You know what I'm saying?
But I'm just saying, isn't it ironic though that two of the best players in the league are friends and they play against each other, they practice together, and I mean, there's an unheralded, rivalry or whatever, but it's not to the point of
hate.
Yeah, there's no
hater there.
Yeah, there's no hater there, But like I said, if you put a microphone in LeBron James right now, LeBron James is worried about making it to the finals, winning another championship, and solidifying his legacy.
He's worried about the Brooklyn Nets, and they're going off right now.
Whoa.
Yeah, the first game of that series starts tonight at 7.
I think Brooklyn is hugely undermatched going into that series. So best of luck to the Brooklyn Nets. That's why they play.
Hey, you never know. Who thought they'd get this far?
Well, basically, the Brooklyn Nets is just a stepchild of the Boston Celtics because they basically have two of the old players from Boston and a combination of some other veterans.
And the other old ones playing for the Heat.
hey, Jesus Shuttleworth is still an amazing.
All right, we only got a couple more teams to talk about. We'll go Pirates right now.
If I had to vote, I'd go Steelers.
Well, no, you know what?
Steelers will end it for us.
And kind of, sum it up. Right now, the Pirates are 12-20, and one of the things that the Pirates that's letting down the Pirates this year is the pitching staff. Right now we're pitching against Tim Hudson tonight, and he's going up against Charlie Morton, and Charlie Morton's one of the people that we've really needed to count on to be productive this year. He's still waiting on his first win. And Tim Hudson is going for his 5th win, and he's got more wins this season than the entire starting pitching staff for the Pirates. I'm
glad Chip said that.
No, you know what? You got to be a realist, okay? I mean, I love my Pirates. I'm going to defend them. I'm going to still go down to the games and root for my team. But, the Pirates' relief pitchers have had a problem holding a lead. There's been a big hubbub about, bring up Gregory Polanco. But Gregory Polanco is not going to be the savior of the Pirates. The Pirates are working to work through their problems right now. I've got all the faith in the world in Clint Hurdle and Ray Searage. They're going to work it out with their pitching staff. Francisco Liriano is nowhere close to pitching as well as he pitched last year.
Do you think by Jamison getting injured that was a big setback to what could be now?
No, I don't think that was as much of a setback as the fact that Liriano has not pitched well, that Charlie Morton has not pitched well. Neither one of those two has a win yet.
Wandy's injured.
Wandy Rodriguez. You got 3/5 of your starting pitching staff that are they pitching fine. If they're pitching better, more consistently, nobody cares about. Jamison Taillon never pitched inning one in the major leagues, so I don't think it's that much of a blow.
What do we have to lose right now by bringing up Polanco and seeing if that spark in the back? If we score more runs than the other team, it doesn't matter how terrible our pitching staff is.
There's a couple of schools of thought on that. Of course, you've got your naysayers that say the Pirates are cheap and They didn't spend any money, and that's the reason why they're having difficulty. But this is just the way baseball is. Sometimes, things will work out like this. Polanco's hitting the cover off the ball in AAA. And I got to trust the people that are watching his development to bring him up when the time is right.
A few weeks will be right. When it's time that it won't affect the contract, guess what? He'll be out.
But I don't necessarily believe that that's the.
It's not going to solve anything. You have to solve pitching. Like Grilly has not been the same since he was injured last year.
And he was injured this year before they finally put him on the DL.
Well, this is part of what they do. And Grilly's a warrior, but at 36, 37, when you start hitting that age in baseball, there's very few that can come back each year and overachieve. And the Pirates overachieved last year. And that's a tough thing because it was great to see as a fan 2 years in a row, but the pitching was unstoppable early in the season. When you can shut people down, it helps. A win's a win no matter when you get it.
The Pirates last year, their pitching staff was the fourth, ranked number 4 out of 15 teams in the National
But they were
League.
number 1 and 2 throughout early.
Yeah, but the teams that had better pitching staffs were St. Louis, the Dodgers, the Reds, and the Pirates. And that's the way they went, and all 4 of those teams went to the playoffs. Right now, our pitching staffs ranked 14 out of 15. Now, I do believe that the people that we have can be coached.
They've done it already.
They know what they need to do. They're going to work hard. They're going to get there. They've got a mountain to climb, but there's a long season ahead of us.
162 for people that don't know.
And if you remember, last year in May, the Los Angeles Dodgers were stinking. Everybody wanted Don Mattingly to be fired.
I don't think you can compare the Dodgers.
They came around and they caught fire. And they went deep into the playoffs.
They got some.
Maybe it'll happen. Speaking of firepower, what do you think about the draft?
How much money is the Dodgers pay though? Like they just shot
quadruple ours.
Kershaw. What's their
Kershaw?
ace?
They paid him
Who's
over
their
$200 million. Clayton Kershaw.
Clayton Kershaw. They pay him $200 million. Then they got Puig. Like they got some.
They don't pay the whole Pirate team in 3 years that.
Yeah. So I mean, it was easy to have a dormant giant, but it was still a giant. It was just dormant.
Well, until a team can mesh and play ball.
The same team that we have right now won 94 games last year. Let's not lose sight of that.
It's not the same team.
It's similar, but not the same playing type of team. That's the difference. They're trying, but you've had injuries.
You go through 20 straight years of losing, and then you finally win one. Have a winning season. Do you think you're going to still be as hungry as you were the 20 straight losing seasons?
Yes.
You would think that.
Yeah, I would think.
But some guys lose their hunger and lose their intensity, and that's where Hurdle's job is to.
Let us not lose sight of the fact that it's May 6th.
Hey, there was we for 20 years we lose the opening day and the season was over.
For you, yes, and me a lot, yes, no doubt. Well, we only got a few minutes to talk Steelers, and we'll be out of here. I know the draft day's coming up. I'm excited because they got 9 spots that they're going to pick from.
But the scary part is they have 9 picks. But what people aren't understanding is this might be one of the most crucial drafts in the last 10 years. Ben Roethlisberger is getting up there in age. This is the last run. And as Al Levine likes to point out, rebuilding, well, we're rebuilding, but we need a fast rebuild. We don't need a prolonged rebuild. We need, like J.G. Wentworth, we need players now.
Now, and this is, everybody puts up these mock drafts. And, everybody's got their wish list of players that they want to get, and really, who the Steelers end up getting it's going to depend on who's
where
gone.
People fall.
No, is who's gone with the first 14 picks. Yeah. There's the possibility if one of the wide receivers that we might like, if he's available there, that we may go there. There's a real strong possibility that we go cornerback. And I would expect one of those two things to be the
Donald
first-
might even
the
fall.
preferred
I've
first
seen
draft.
some boards.
They said that you know,
Well, sure.
and as Kevin Colbert said, you know, and I know we don't have a lot of faith. He's happy Mike Adams is a Steeler, right? But you know, he said that the quality of player that you can get in the 15th pick this year is about the same caliber of a player that you could get in the 6th or 7th pick in previous years. That is how deep this draft is. They say this is
That's
the
what
last
he's
30
saying.
years.
Yeah.
No, but he's not the only person. There's a lot of experts that say this is one of the deepest drafts. So this is a year where the Steelers really got to do like they did in 1974. They gotta have the draft of a lifetime.
But tell me right now, after seeing what you saw last year and the comeback and the fight and the will, say that if we don't get a couple of the right pieces for right now, we'll be right back. You know, I'm not saying we're gonna be the best team in the league. but I'm
Last year,
just saying,
2 games if they win, they go 8-0 the second half. 8-0 with that team was
and with
Their last 12
three
games
different centers,
last year, they were 8-4.
Right.
3 different centers that we went through last year.
No, they did a lot of piecemeal lines, and the same
You know,
line
and
was
so
never
we got to
playing.
see what kind of team we have, and you know, and we're probably not
I'm
going to know that
excited.
until training camp. I'm always going to be excited.
When
I mean,
it's
I-
draft day, I love to see the picks.
From the
I
time
tell you what, I'd be honest with you, I couldn't care less about this draft. 4 days of TV on this draft. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on, I'd rather watch mold grow on cheese in my refrigerator.
Well, I don't like that Goodell hug. That's sort of creepy, if you want my opinion. The Goodell hug with these guys, he's lingering too long on that hug.
Well, hey, listen, if you're paying me like $25 million a year to oversee that cash cow, I'm going to give you a hug too when you come into the league.
Yeah, but that's a long hug.
He's like the god of the
Hey,
NFL.
we got to end this show. We're going to be wrapping it up. Thanks, Chip the Prophet Hayner. Thanks, Zach
Always a
Brenner,
pleasure.
Thank
for
a veteran.
coming in. John the Tiger Kiger, thanks for the camera work. We're winding down. Devin Shea's been in, gave us the timer, so I know we're running out of time rather quickly. And thanks especially to all the folks watching our show. We appreciate it, the great feedback, and you coming out to Sip Sports Bar and telling us. Even in the streets, they said, check that sound, Talking Machine, because we're not hearing you as well. So check out our sound. It's pretty good here. And again, I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Take care. Go Pens.